Okay, I just want to walk you through a moment on what's going on here. Okay, as you can see, I have a saw railing system that I'm actually creating. And what I did is I took a 20-foot ladder that was actually much wider than this. And if you look closely, I cut them in the center with a metal grinder. And then I stuck dowels. You can't, it's fastened down so you can't really see, but if you look in here, I bought wooden dowels that I put in here, and that actually filled the void that was caused from me cutting it. And if you look here, you'll see that I took screws and then fastened the dowel in to give me my consistent width across. Now what this is going to do, the reason why I added this piece of wood here is so that when I hook up, and you're going to see that in a minute, when I hook my chainsaw mill up to it, it can slide flush across here as I'm pushing it down the lumber. Now I'm going to show you what I'm talking about a second here. All right, so if you look at this, what I did is I created this chainsaw fixture here. My distance from adding these washers on this bowling alley board, which is waterproof and very hard, is the same distance on these same pieces of wood, just cut out to the dimensions I wanted them. And if you look here, I chose this saw over my my Husqvarna because of the type of teeth you can get with this particular chainsaw. You can't do that with a Husky. It's just different. So if you look here, this is how it works. You take your chainsaw here, for those that haven't seen this before, and with your left hand, of course, you're applying your gas, and then with your right hand, you're holding that here, and you're going to turn this on its belly while it's laid out on the lumber that I'm going to show you, and you actually push it across the rail just like that. And because you have a level mounted on here, you'll be able to make sure that this stays stable and flush once you're putting it on top of the lumber. So I'm going to walk down there and show you how this works. So just imagine, this is heavy, so I'm not going to carry it. Imagine me taking this rail here, and we're going to go ahead and walk down here, and I'm going to show you how this is set up. Now you could go and buy a sawmill on the low cheap end. You can get one for probably about, okay, on the low end you'll probably have to add a railing system in order to make it be able to hold the type of lumber you're looking for. So if you look here, now I did this with an axe. So if you look at this one was kind of hewn out with an axe, and then I went back over it with the chainsaw. But this one, which was my second run, if you look here, the ladder would sit on top of this part, and you would actually, the spacing is about a 1/2 inch that I have set on the chainsaw mill. So what I'm doing is simply running it straight down, and that's plumb. I set a what do you call that? A level on there as I'm going down, all the way until I cut off what I don't want, which happens to be this piece. If you look here, and like I said, if you look there, that's about a 1/2 inch that I cut off of there. So when I get ready to make the log cabin, this side and this side, as you can look down there, it's going to be hewn out to where I have flat sides, and I'm going to debark the top. And so what I'll do is stack these on top of each other without the bark, and you'll have a nice siding for the external, and then I could do whatever I want with the internal because the walls are flat. So if I wanted to do that, sheetrock or anything like that, it can fasten directly on the flat surface that I have there. So I'm just selecting trees out. As you can see, I cut a couple out here, and I think I'm going to try to do a 20 by 20. That's a challenging, especially for my first tree. And because it's getting cold, there's less sap to work with in the tree, but you can see that this one's running. but it's about finished. I cut this tree down before it started getting cold, so this is not a good example, but it's a 20-foot tree. I'm going to put my ladder on top of here, and I'll run it down with the chainsaw, cut off both sides, and then prep them to go ahead and sit over here on this structure over here. Now, as I'm erecting this structure, what I will do is get rid of these, well, this is not mine anyway, but I'll get rid of the campers, and they'll be off the property, and I'll have a permanent structure up that's tiny for me, and it's a 20 by 20, and I'll connect that to the shed here and have a power off-grid solar system running from there to the house. And then once we get these things established, our goal is to show others how to do it and take them by the hand. But this just shows you that you can get creative. You can create your own stuff. You don't need to go pay $2,200 for a cheap sawmill, when you could probably do this with a used ladder and a good saw. It's probably good to have a couple. You can make this, it doesn't have to be with the bowling alley wood or anything like that, because that's just very durable, but you could use whatever you want. If you're a good welder, you could use metal, or you could just use regular wood. Just keep it out the rain. And any good chainsaw is 20 cc's. Your chainsaw has to have a bar that's at least 20 inches. That gives you your gap. Your ladder needs to be able to fit through here, or your chainsaw needs to be able to go through that ladder. So if this is not wide enough, you won't be able to get the clearance that you need in order to cut. And if you think about the width of the ladder, you consider that when measuring how much you're going to take off on your tree. So this is set where to take off ½ an inch with added to the width of the ladder, which is it's going to be from here to here. So I added about ½ inch onto that if you look at my bottom thumb, and then I'm just cutting off at the bottom. So that's how that works. I'll keep you posted and updated on what's going on. Hey, this stuff there's a learning curve to it, but once you get going and start doing it, you know, it's no problem. I'm no professional. This is actually the first log cabin that I'm going to build, and you guys might remember this structure that's kind of set here. I finally decided what I want to do with it, and I'm just going to run it and reinforce the outer perimeter by cutting back here, and then I'm going to add 2x6s and bolt them together, and that's going to be my load bearing weight, are going to be sitting on the 2x6s that are going to be facing up and down like that. So I'll run that all the way down in the perimeter, and of course these are spaced at about 8.5, I believe 9 feet apart, and 20 by 20, that should be suitable enough to handle that kind of weight. So I'll keep you posted. You take care, and keep pressing forward.